Now we're going to have a look at our wavetable modes, which are accessed by this menu here. So the wavetable modes give you 10 different modes to choose from, and they determine the way that the wavetables are read, and that affects the behavior of the wavetable and therefore the sound. They're really powerful and are a great way to unlock interesting sound design possibilities in Massive X. Now each one has extra parameters located underneath and also to the side in the shape of these two knobs here. And you'll see that the function of those change depending on what we have selected from here. Okay, so let's have a look at them. So we'll start off with the standard mode. Now this is similar to the spectrum mode that we had in the original Massive. So this gives us a kind of low pass filter style effect. That is when we use the filter. Now from here, we have the option of forward and backward. Now this determines the direction of phase, which determines how the waveform is read. Slight variation there. Now the polarity allows us to flip the waveform. So again, subtle difference there. Okay, so this final button here, this int on, int off, allows you to switch on and off the internal phase. So when it's on, we use the internal phase of the synthesizer, but when it's off, the oscillator is turned into a wave shaper. Now this can only be used in conjunction with the phase modulation oscillator or the aux input, basically in conjunction with phase modulation. We're going to go through this in a future video, but let me just introduce some phase modulation. I'll switch on phase modulation oscillator to route it. So that's with the internal phase. With that off, we now have wave shaping. There we go. Let me switch that off again. Okay, so that leaves us with the filter. So kind of a low pass effect, and then the main phase of the oscillator. And that's the standard mode. Okay, next up, let's have a look at the bend mode. Now, we may remember this from Massive 1. Now, we can change the readout speed of our position dial depending on the position within the wavetable. So some parts of the readout are compressed and some are stretched. And this is determined by our options down here. So we can choose from 3 flavors, strong, medium, and gentle. So strong being the most extreme. So the curve is at its greatest when we're on strong. Now when we're on this gentle mode here, this is the most like the bend plus minus mode we had in Massive 1. Now we can choose from 3 different modes here for playback. So with neutral, there's no directional change. And when we go up down, this inverts every second cycle of the waveform. So it gives us a different character. It changes the harmonics that are in there. Now if we go to forward back, this reads out every second cycle of the waveform backwards. Again, just a different characteristic. So then we have our filter again. And then our bend knob. Now this bends the phase by accelerating and decelerating the waveform's readout. And remember, we can automate these parameters as well to get some movement in there. Okay, so next up we have this mirror option here. Now this causes the wavetable to be read back and forth. We don't have any extra parameters for this one. Now the bend does the same as it did in the last example, so it accelerates and decelerates the readout. Now the ratio effect controls the depth ratio of the mirrored phase. It can kind of give you almost sync effects. There's lots of scope for really manipulating frequency content of this sound. Okay, next up we have hard sync. Now this gives us a classic hard sync style sound. Now in this mode we can sync the phase of our waveform to another waveform. And we can kind of control the depth of the effect using this left hand knob here, the second level knob. And we can choose to change the pitch of the sync oscillator by using this ratio control. Now we can choose from 3 different modes here, hard, soft and grain. Now the hard effect gives you that classic sync oscillator effect. Soft and grain allow it to be slightly smoother. Now we have these neutral up, down, forwards, back controls here as well. Now these are the same as for the other example. So it allows you to flip the second cycle of the waveform. So again, just think of it as another way of manipulating the characteristic of the sound. Okay, then we have this wrap mode. Now this is very similar to the hard sync mode, but it has less pitch artifacts. We have the same controls as for the hard sync mode. Okay, so that's part 1 of our look at the wavetable modes. We're going to continue this in part 2.